What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR today. So we've been in our nice uptrend. Things are looking good. We broke out of our down sloping trend line. Probably delete this at this point now. It's looking very bullish. Yesterday's close was very nice as we landed at the 421 level for the close. We're very bullish. We're at the top of this golden zone that we've been speaking about. Looks like we're finally ready to break out of it. We'll see what happens. We're currently sitting at 414 on the pre-market. Yesterday's inflation report came out pretty good, cooler than expected. It should help relieve any pressure on Bitcoin and risk assets, showing that inflation is cooling down, potentially nudging the Fed closer to actually cutting rates. As of now, that's not happening yet, but it helps nudge them, like I said, along with the unemployment slowly ticking up but not going parabolic. So MSTR is off to a good start, but when you actually compare it to this last start over here, it's actually underperforming this leg. And the reason I say that is because, so we're going to actually measure this move first. So we'll go April 7th to the peak, which was roughly here, 42%. And then we're going to measure this one. We're going to measure the first 42%, which is September 9th to somewhere in this region. Actually, I got to go on the daily. So we'll go here. Or actually, we'll go here, yeah. September 6th to October 29th. 40%. September 6th to October 29th, we were up 127% off of that 40% move. So we were currently at a 3x in this time period, where MSTR went up 120% off of Bitcoin's 40% move. And then now, if you take a look at it, from April 6th to the peak, MSTRs ran up 82% on Bitcoin's 41.6% move. MSTR is only up 82% right now. So it's only 2x. When in the last time when we rallied 40%, MSTR 3x'd it, it tripled it, and this time we're only doubling it. So it's something to take note of. I don't think it's a cause of concern, but I do think it has to do with the MNAV kicking up. The MNAV took such a severe hit on this downturn that now, as it's recovering, the MNAV is still taking time to, start getting up there. It's currently at a 214, and I think the MNAV was much higher here because this was more of a sideways climb or decline. Like, although it almost did the same percentage, it was more of a sideways chop, as this one was an aggressive drop off, and this aggressive drop can severely drop the MNAV, and now the MNAV is trying to catch back up. So it might take a little bit longer for us to get those last 3 weeks that we spoke of, but it's okay, because if this is an extended move, out to June or July, it gives it time for the MNAV to, kick up to 2.5, 2.7. So we just need momentum and some volume behind us, which we really haven't had too much of. But I think it is going to come, though. Bitcoin's move, yeah, it's ran up pretty significantly, but there still isn't that FOMO yet. So I think once we can see that FOMO, that's when things can really start getting going. On the 4-hour SMA, practically got to move off of it. Close enough, pushing up higher. The SMA is sitting right here in the middle of our golden zone to the downside, and it looks like we're finally ready to break out of it. Super bullish. Love to see that. We fell underneath our 20 moving average on the 1 hour and almost got a touch here on the 50, rallying back up. Let's see if we can break all-time highs, which is sitting here at 430. So if Bitcoin, for instance, hits 180,000, and that's going to be, the top, or if it's going to hit 250 and that's going to be the top, while we're sitting at 240 and we're about to push up like maybe the next week or something, MSTR will have its final move. And as MSTR is dropping, then Bitcoin's going to run up and hit that 250 target or 180 target, wherever that peak is going to be for Bitcoin. Weekly RSI is approaching that 70 region. We're sitting at 68.25, 68, somewhere around there. Looking very good. An aggressive move to the upside. And here on the daily, we're getting our bounce off the SMA, and we actually have finally hit overbought territory. Let's see if we finally get that aggressive move to the upside that we've been waiting for. We have made it to the top of 70 and pushed back down prior, so let's see what happens this time. But hopefully we see something along these lines here. So maybe the aggressive move is on its way relatively soon. We will find out. But this is looking very bullish. Higher highs, higher lows. Getting a bounce off the yellow moving average, supporting strength, and we're making our way up. And at the same time, coincidentally, we're breaking out of this golden zone that's been suppressing price for the past, week or so. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe this breaks out at the same time that this breaks out, and then we get a nice little move to the upside. Like I said, I do think there's a strong chance that, I wouldn't say a strong chance, but I do think once we break this level, we could make a pretty clean move up to all-time highs, but we'll see. Things are always subject to change. We're really riding on the back of Bitcoin, so just be ready for something like that. And of course, to the downside, if you fall out of here, you're going to touch this level of support and resistance, hopefully get a bounce. If not, then you break through it and you're back within this trading range, which we definitely don't want to see. So right now, things are looking great. Super bullish. Weekly MACD is just getting started. We're on our third candle. And as you can see on the last move, third candle means nothing on this scale here. Third candle was, halfway through the move. We were just breaking all-time highs. Third candle here. We're not breaking all-time highs, but if you subtract this wick from here, you take this wick off, we're practically almost at all-time highs, sitting at 450. If you were to remove this long wick, 450 would be the all-time high. So we're almost at all-time highs in terms of, I guess closes and opens here, the bodies of the candle versus the wicks. So this is kind of playing out the same in a way. Let's see if it plays out the same where we get 2 or 3 weeks of, steady volume, and then we start to get our breakout maybe early June or something like that. But we'll see. Hopefully it comes sooner and, in a more extended way this time. When you look at the daily, you can see we did decrease in volume, unfortunately, but there's always a strong chance that we can kick it back up. We saw this last time here in this move where volume decreased, got a little ramp back up, decreased, ramped back up, decreased all the way to negative, turned red, and then we got the major move upward. So let's see if we see something like that. We got the large volume upward, pushing down, and then hopefully we get another ramp up, push down, ramp back up, while price is, sustaining its level, and it's not having too much of a major drawdown. That would be the ideal scenario. We are extremely overbought here on the 4-hour, but I don't think it's the end of the world because this thing can hold high levels for an extended period. As you can see, we held very extended levels from, honestly, October 4th all the way through, mid to the end of November. So this can run much higher and just hold extremely overbought levels. So we'll see how it plays out though. Global liquidity has been trending downward. Don't think it's the end of the world, but it is trending downward. That does not mean that the move is over. When you take a look at the weekly, it doesn't look too bad. The daily looks more like if it's something serious, but I don't think it is. When you take a look on the weekly, you can see we've had small pullbacks and rallied higher up, depending on the DXY, the dollar. So speaking of the dollar, we'll take a look at the dollar now. It looks like it's playing out as we spoke of. We had this key level of support and resistance here that was respected plenty of times. Broke underneath it. We said that there's a strong chance that we could break, hold, retest, and push down lower. We are currently still in the middle of it. It doesn't have to play out as we said, but it is looking like that is what's happening. As you can see, we were speaking of it when it was at 101.8, 101.9, something up here, looking like it could run up because there was a clean move to the left, which we spoke about. We said this is a possibility, so there was always a chance that that could happen, but there is a stronger chance because we got the close down here. We're holding the level, and the odds were in our favor of it coming down. But there's always a possibility that we could ramp back up. We still have 2 days, but it looks like it's starting to play out to the downside. Hopefully cracking 97.9 and falling to this 95.5 level. That would be ideal. Reaching our red circle here on the dollar, which would be around 90 bucks. That would be very, very bullish for risk on assets. We'll see how it plays out, of course. And we did speak about the moving averages on the dollar. As you can see, you have the 200-day above your head, or 200-week above your head, which is super, super bearish. It's going to be very strong or very hard to break the 200-week. So that's another reason why we're expecting it to come down. And last time we fell below the 200-week was actually the start of, not the start, but in the middle of our last crazy bull run here on Bitcoin. Actually, it kind of was the start of the next bull run. If you can take a look here, you can see once we broke the 200-week, which is the orange line, the orange and green line, you can see the purple line, Bitcoin, starts ramping up severely from that point on. We ramped up once we fell underneath that 200. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but you can see what happened last time. So it does happen. We'll see where things go, though. Ideally, it would be the pull down all the way here, chop a little bit, break through, retest, and make it all the way down. On the dollar, on the daily time frame, the 50 SMA is above our head. Another reason why we got some rejection. But we also have the 20-day underneath price, so it could hold the dollar up a little bit, but we want to ideally fall between that or underneath that 20 and push down further. But things are playing out very well. It looks like Bitcoin can potentially rally from here based off of this information. We will see how things go, especially when you take a look here at the S&P 500 divided by the VIX. We got our strong move off of these trend lines. We have a first trend line and we have a secondary trend line. These happened during COVID and some other significant drops that we've had, as you can see here in August 2024, and this most recent drop here. So we have made it back above the primary trend line, and it looks like we're trying to push up higher. Very bullish overall. And the same thing here on the MSTR divided by the VIX. You can see we've had significant drops, and we've touched these trend lines and rallied back up. Looks like we're trying to make all-time highs and push up even higher. So we'll see how things play out. Last time we got a sharp move here on the MSTR divided by the VIX was November, and we all know what happened in November on MSTR. So things are looking very good. Bitcoin is pushing towards all-time highs. So let's see how it plays out. Last time, when you compare 17, 21, we've had significant rallies. I mean, when you look here on the monthly, the last move was March 21, right? March 2021. So we have from October to March. So you're talking about 6 months of just pure rallying, right? And here is more of a bullish red candle, if anything. So in here you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 to 8 months, maybe 9 months, 8 to 9 months of rallying. If we get something similar, we'll just say 6 months, and you take that out, it takes us to October of just pure green. If it plays out exactly like we did in 17 and 21. The correlation between 17, 21, and 2025, the reason you always hear me talk about 17 and 21 is because they're all post-election years, and post-election years tend to rally the most for Bitcoin because they are the end of the cycle. So that's why you'll always hear me talk about 17, 21, and 2025. Obviously in 2026, you're not going to be hearing me talk about that. I'll be comparing it to 18, 2022, and 2026, which I think based off of seasonality and historics, it should be a bearish year, but it does not have to play out like that. But that's why you'll hear me compare, and I always spread it out every 4 years because it's the most relevant in my opinion. Overall though, looking super bullish, waiting to break all-time highs. I think we could relatively soon, but we'll see how things play out, of course. Weekly close was super bullish, and honestly, I think when you look at every candle, a lot of times there's wicks in the opposite direction of where price is going. Not all the time, but it happens a lot. So before you rally, you tend to just get a nice wick, because it's very uncommon to just get a entire engulfing candle fully green with no wicks. That just doesn't happen all the time. It does happen, but that usually happens in the middle of a serious bull run. And I don't think we're there yet, but we are approaching that time. Like you'll see that here. You see there's no wick here, but you're in the middle of a serious run right here. But before the run, you can see you get these large wicks. So there's a lot of indecision on the moves up. And then once you get the full move up and you start ramping, that's when you can start seeing maybe less wicks to the downside, because momentum is just carrying price up higher and higher and higher. So I think this is just a wick. Indecision, people worried about reaching these all-time highs. And, you have a lot of sellers and short sellers, because I'm sure plenty of people have this exact same, zone drawn out. So people are selling and shorting as it's approaching this level, which is pushing price back down. But then watch, they're going to start FOMOing in right once they see that 109.5 and we push up higher. People are going to start FOMOing in. It's going to start ramping up higher. So hopefully we get a significant move. Just something, it doesn't have to play out. But if you just take a look, we're just using like basic information. From this local high to our local high right now, we ran 46%. And along the way, if you take it from this, well, we'll take it from, this is more, I guess we can take it from here. If you push that up all the way up, we pushed up 50%. So local high pushed up 50%. And then from this local high to this local high, we pushed up 45%. So what if we push up, 50% from here, or 45%? That puts you in 158 to 160, 165, something in that region, before we get our next, pullback of, maybe 20, 30%. And then we continue the cycle of pushing up higher. So let's see. Or we just keep ramping ridiculously. I mean, once Bitcoin does get going, we do have this here, which we spoke about. I'm not going to call this, but do take note of it. It's not outside of the possibility of happening, where if we touch the top of that range, I'm not going to be surprised, but I will be out by then. I'm not going to be along for the ride that long. So, but if you do look, 17, 21, it is 25. So there's definitely a chance that this is a possibility, and this rallies more than people anticipate, more than I'm anticipating, and I'm okay with that. But take note of that. So that is the top of this channel. We'll see. Maybe the top and the bottom of the channel gets hit in the following years. So if you actually take a look, 17 touched it, and 18 touched the bottom. 21 touched it, and 22 touched the bottom. 25 touches it, and 26 touches the bottom. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am just showing you what has happened previously. And if the trend continues, we could see something along these lines here. Just saying. I'm not calling this target, but if it does happen, just know that it was always a possibility, because, just looking at the chart. That's all I have for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.